Wizards PostGame Live.
After missing the last 5 games, we got Bradley Beal back tonight in Madison Square Garden, heart of the concrete jungle in New York. Brad gives you 18. The Unicorn gives you 22. Kyle Kuzma gives you 27. Oh, by the way, the last 2 people I mentioned also gave you double-doubles. As you see Kyle Kuzma tiptoeing through the Garden, that's what it's all about. Welcome to Postgame Live. Glenn Consor and Wes Hall with you. Of course, to be joined by Chris, Drew, and Megan momentarily. But Glenn, I know it's your hometown, but the Wizards went up there and got a dub. A little bit of payback was in order tonight. And, of course, a fabulous way of doing it if you look at the numbers.
Yeah, first of all, the thing that jumps out at me early is the fact that they out-rebounded the Knicks. I mean, they beat them at their own game. And Wes, I think that was huge tonight.
Yes.
The balanced attack on offense was everything. The fact that Brad came back really balanced the floor. The team had great spacing. They didn't rush their shots. They used their passing to move the ball and open up driving lanes. Look, the Knicks defense is very good. What they do is they pack it in. But to reverse the ball is how you beat the Knicks. And you know what loosened it up a little early? They made their threes. All of a sudden, that packed-in defense got loosened up a little bit, and the Wizards did a great job of exploiting that.
Glenn, he gave you 18 points, 4 boards, 4 dimes. I love the fact that he only played 29 minutes, only meaning Brad usually plays like 35 minutes a night. What did you make of his game tonight? Because as he knew, as he said, he wanted to watch himself. It was a different protocol about getting back on the court tonight, but we liked the version of Brad we saw tonight.
You know what I liked? I liked the fact that he let the game come to him. You know, he wasn't forcing things. Look, we know Brad could drop and give you 50.
Easily.
We know he can give you 40. But he let the game. He read the defenses beautifully. Did a great job, especially early in the game, curling off screens with the nice, soft, aesthetically beautiful jump shot. And he took the driving lanes, but he didn't force anything. He wasn't backing guys down. He just let the game breathe. Wizards really showed that with him on the floor, the court becomes very balanced, and you can increase your spacing, and that's the key. That also opens up three-point shots. It makes those easier.
Look at the stats for Brad tonight, as I mentioned, 18.7 from 11 from the field, 4-4-1. But Glenn, something that he said to Megan on the walk-off, he was like, I know what happens when I'm on the court. You can't double the others.
No.
You can't double me.
Nope.
It's back to where we were at the beginning of the season, where we were asking, what do teams do to try to stop the Wizards? You have to pick your poison. Tonight, the Knicks didn't have anything in that jar because we had 3 guys going off tonight.
Well, I'll tell you what else happened tonight. With Brad on the floor, and this is really important, with Brad on the floor, 6 Wizards players were in double figures. The bench looked good tonight. The bench did their role. All of a sudden, things change. It loosens things up. The reality is you win in the NBA with your stars. And you need, the way the NBA is built right now, you need 3 of them. And the Wizards' 3 stars were finally out there, and you really saw the difference. Not just offensively, but defensively, too. I thought the Wizards did an excellent job on Julius Randle and Barrett tonight. Those guys, you know, you got to pick your poison with the Knicks. Brunson is playing at a very high level. He's averaging over 33 points a game, last 6 games now, right? But what they do, so you pick your poison. He got his points, but they shut down Barrett and they shut down Randle. They're big, too.
And the absence of Mitchell Robinson, I'm glad that we took advantage of his absence. Sometimes, you know, we say we play to the level of opponent. He steps out, we say, oh, the lane's open today.
Right.
Let's go ahead and dump it down in the paint and take advantage of his absence. But here's what I want to get to. What was the key to victory tonight? Is it, dare I say, the assists? Is it the three-point shooting? Is it the free throws? Because we had 16 free throws, we had 16 threes, and the assists were 28-14. Glenn Consor says that. Why don't you go to NBCSportsWashington.com/vote, make your voice heard. You can use the QR code right there on the screen as well. I want to bring in Chris and Drew here in a moment to get their thoughts on this, because if I had to, you know, wave my hand, you can probably look at my Twitter account and tell you that I'm happy it was about the threes. But I'll ask Drew the same question. Guys, what do you think was the key to victory for the Wizards tonight? Threes, free throws, assists, what do you got?
Your bold prediction? Did you get that right?
Yes, I did.
Was you spot on?
Yes, I did.
16. Did you have 16?
I said 15 or more, and I said KP and Kuz had to have 20 or more points. I got all 3 of those things right.
All right. You was being real humble about it, so I'm going to give you your flowers. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. We don't have to go to Twitter, Wes. We don't have to go to Twitter.
You know. Go ahead, brother.
But guess what? One thing that's not on here, which me and Glenn talked about in pregame, is the rebounding factor. whoever won the glass was going to win this game. Last Friday, the Wizards were out rebounded by 4. They lost by 4. Tonight, they out-rebounded them by 3, and it was much more than just that. And this last but not least, that matchup between Porzingis and Julius Randle. I said it. Whoever won that matchup, their team was going to win that game. And guess what? Porzingis won that matchup, and his team won.
It wasn't just rebounding. It was offensive rebounding. The Wizards had 18 of those, and we talked about how the Knicks are #1 in the league in offensive rebounds and second chance points. And for the Wizards to go wire to wire, and I agree with everything you guys said. Listen, Bradley Beal was a decoy tonight, to be quite honest with you, because the way Kuzma and Porzingis was playing. But I want to give some credit to Denny Avdia. Kid had 14 points, and he's pushing pace. I like the fact that the Wizards got 9 fast break points. I think they had 7 of those in the first half. They set the tone early. I thought Porzingis was the tone setter in the first couple minutes of this game, really kind of taking the crowd out of it. And as Drew said, once he fouled out, then all of a sudden the Boo Birds want to come out. But Wes, I'm going to go back to what I said on Friday. The end of that post game, I said, ask me when the Wizards are whole again, what's going to happen with this matchup against the New York Knicks. And you saw what happened. When Bradley Beal is in the lineup now, Drew said it. The matchup between Porzingis and Randle, whoever won that, won the game. And we saw who won that matchup.
Guys, we also have to factor in those threes. 10 of them in the first half. It just felt like this game, you know, we talk about energy, right? You can feel the kind of night you're going to have. When the 3-ball started following, it looked like it put New York in a bit of a tizzy trying to figure out, how do we stop these guys, Drew?
Yeah, well, you know what? Their defense is stop the paint, lock in the paint. Do not allow any drives. Do not play without foul, and don't send them to the line. And make them take tough outside three-point shots that are contested. This has been Tibbs' principles his entire time as a head coach in this league when you play against his teams. They want to pack the paint and force you to make threes, and tonight the Wizards did just that. They said, hey, the hell with the layups and get into the line. We'll just knock down these threes that you're giving them. Find the open man, move the ball, move bodies, and they did a phenomenal job in that first half. I want to say they had 15 assists on 20 made field goals at one point, so kudos to the Wizards collectively.
You know, just to piggyback on what Drew and Chris said, I really thought the pace of this game was the Wizards played probably one of their best games of the season from a pace standpoint. They took what the defense gave them, and that's the key. You know, they did a great job of transition buckets. They took it off the glass. They got buckets. They didn't just rely on grinding it out. They did a great job of, you know, executing the half-court offense. And the ball movement, I thought, was terrific tonight. They really spaced out the Knicks. And to Drew's point, you know, the bottom line is, well, here's what the Knicks do. They take a big yellow school bus and they put it in the paint. And then typically they have Mitchell Robinson, who's those solar windmill guys, who's behind on top of that bus blocking shots and getting defensive rebounds. That's their defense. Well, Robinson went out, but the bus was still there. True. So the Wizards really exploited it by going around the bus, right, driving into the passing lanes. They made their threes, and they diversified their offensive schemes. They didn't just rely on threes. Right. They also, you saw Kuz with attacking. You saw Brad attack. You saw Monte Morris attack. I love the pace and the way these guys played tonight.
Chris and Drew, we pretty much had the Knicks, Warriors, Knicks. The first 2 games that we saw in that 3-game series obviously went the way that it went. But next up on the menu is Orlando back in D.C. What's a lesson that we learned from the night that we can employ back when you guys come back home?
It's hard to win on the road. So take advantage of all the home games you have and put teams like the Orlando Magic away early if you can. You're back home, like Chris has mentioned. You got the big 3 back together. Hopefully this win will give the Wizards more confidence going back home against the Magic, because guess what? You got to go take your talents back on the road after that game.
Indeed, it's going to be a 5-game stretch after that Orlando Magic game. Chris, you already know. Gentlemen, I'm just glad that you were able to have a good call tonight, Chris. I know you were enjoying it, being in the MSG for your first call. So thanks so much, guys. Have a great one, and we'll see you on Saturday for the Orlando Magic. Right now, Wizards fans, head coach Wes Unseld Jr. at the post-game podium.
I hope so. I mean, it's a good sign those guys could, you know, kind of put it together. Seems like the chemistry hasn't changed at all in Brad's absence. So, you know, overall I thought it was great. You know, the best part about it I thought was our overall defense. You know, the paint defense wasn't up to par, but in general, you know, they've been a top 10 offense. They've been playing at a high level. So I was proud of our guys for really kind of anchoring ourselves in our defense and letting the offense come to us.
16 triples, is that the offense coming to you, or was that
That's part of it, yeah.
you guys kind of manufactured a little bit?
No, I mean, it's, you know, good players are going to create a little offense for you, but we stayed the course. You know, a lot of the same looks we were able to generate the other night, you know, against New York, didn't fall. So, you know, paid off. Our spacing, for the most part, was good. We got off of it in a timely manner. We shared the ball. And, you know, when you do that, you usually shoot pretty efficiently. And I thought we did, you know, a decent job from the three-point line.
A lot of times today, Kyle looked like he had a couple of nice drives to the basket, reverse layups. It seems like, from our vantage point, he's kind of expanding his game more with you guys. From your perspective, what are you seeing from the growth of him, just individually as a player, under your leadership?
Well, I think just opportunity, you know, is a big piece of that. You know, allowing him to play out in the open floor, play more pick and roll. He rebounds, he pushes, even after makes. He's done a good job of getting pace into our offense. And I think with his size and playmaking ability, he's a tough cover. He can get downhill, to your point, drive, finish. You know, he shot the three a little bit tonight, so he can score on all three levels. But we also use him as a facilitator. And, you know, I think just having the ability to unlock some of that, the biggest piece is the opportunity.
Is there anything about him, like getting a chance to be hands-on with him as a coach, that maybe he surprised you about his game that maybe you didn't know?
Oh, quite a bit. Yeah, quite a bit. You thought he was a kind of a role guy, come in, make a shot. He's got a lot more layers to that. You know, I think the one piece he doesn't get enough credit for is what he does defensively. He's got positional size, but he's got the lateral quickness and the foot speed to navigate screens, guard on the ball, guard in pick and rolls. So that's a piece of it that I, you know, really didn't know until actually, you know, getting him here to DC.
How did Beal?
No, go ahead.
How'd Brad feel today?
I don't know how he felt. He looked good. So my eyes tell the story. Then, you know, I think he was fine.
Wasn't any worries about minutes or anything like that?
No, I mean we had a, you know, threshold in place, but we didn't get to that point. So it worked out well.
I was going to say, was that where you wanted to be? I mean, you were able
close,
to hit him a
yeah.
lot more than you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean it was close to where we, you know, earmarked, you know, his return, and we'll kind of stay in that range for a few weeks, couple weeks to see, you know, how he responds, and then go from there.
You had a conversation with Denny like a couple minutes left in the third quarter. Is that just a go over scheme kind of thing, or motivation kind of thing, or?
No, it's just you know, what we were doing defensively, making sure we knew they were going to trap us, so you know, make sure spatially we were okay, and that's why we went back with the 5 smalls, put more ball handling, because you know they're going to try and speed us up at that point.
Usually you're, you know, very calm on the sideline. When Gaff got his second foul, you were pretty, you know, upset about it. I guess just is that where, okay, you just feel like, okay, it's a clear call the other way, and you just.
Yeah, I mean it's also, you know, you're advocating for your players, but you know it's one thing to have conversations. It's also, you know, it's also, in my opinion, you know, a missed call. That it's okay to get animated. You know, it's just, you know, making the point. Good. All right. Thanks, everybody.
That's head coach Wes Unseld Jr. at the post-game podium as we are joined once again by Megan McPeak after the game in Madison Square Garden. Megan, I want your thoughts on the game and most importantly about Bradley Beal's return after this 5-game absence.
Yeah, I think when you look at this game, Wes and Glenn, it's a wire-to-wire game, and they haven't had many of those this season. When you look at the fact that they led the game from start to finish, and you heard Brad say it in my walk-off with him, when you hear from Coach Wes Unseld talking about when you have an opponent, and typically we saw teams doubling KP, a lot of the time, especially as of recent, the double was coming from the baseline. But now you add Brad back into the mix. Excuse me if I could put my words together. You can't do that anymore. And Brad said that. You can't double KP, you can't double Kuz, and you can't double me. So it's essentially a pick your poison. And I know Chris and Drew were saying that throughout the broadcast with regards to the Knicks defense. Okay, you want to try and stop KP? Fine. You now have a kick to Kuz. You got a kick to Brad. Oh, but wait, Corey Kispert's out there as well, too. Denny and Rui. Even though Rui wasn't hitting his shots tonight, I was impressed with the fact that he was still confident enough to take the shots. And that is what happens when you have the complements of your entire roster together that you had going into this season. You had an idea of what this team could look like. We got a glimpse of it tonight. Now let's everybody stay healthy. Let's all put some good vibes out there for health and wealth and good vibes going for the rest of the season, because you heard heard Brad say it himself. He does not want to deal with this again. He was frustrated going into this injury and having to deal with it a second time. He does not want to be a disservice to this roster and to his teammates for the foreseeable future, period.
Those good vibes you talk about, they're permeating this show and the entire franchise. Remember, this was the 6th team in the East. That's the New York Knicks, who we took down on their home court tonight, so it was a big win. But Megan, don't move, don't go too far, because on the other side, we're going to talk Kyle Kuzma, the good player that we saw tonight that gave you a 27-point double-double, and Kyle Kuzma in the community, a donation of epic proportions from the man from Flint. All that and more coming up on PostGame Live here on NBC Sports Washington. Welcome back to Wizards Post-Game Live. Big win in Madison Square Garden with some rather famous people on side. Jimmy Fallon courtside watching the Wizards take a win over those New York Knicks. Final score 116-105. Well, speaking of things in New York, earlier today, Kyle Kuzma was on site at GMA for a rather spectacular announcement that ties all the way back to his ties in Flint. No worries, we'll have that for you here in a second. Kyle Kuzma doing it for his friends and family back home.
Thank you guys so much. I am donating $1 million to the Flint YMCA.
Wow.
Thank you guys. I'm extremely excited to give you guys this opportunity. I know for me, the YMCA has been an extremely big part of my life, and I never really had amazing resources, and for you guys, I want to make sure you guys have that and the younger generation in Flint. So thank you, YMCA. Hope you appreciate it. Love you guys.
That is awesome. I don't even really know where to begin on this one. Glenn, I'm going to start with you and then come to Megan. $1 million to the YMCA in Flint. He's from Flint. This is a tremendous thing. I can go on all day. Your thoughts about Kyle Kuzma, the person. We'll talk basketball in a second.
You know, traveling with the team, which is what I've been doing for years, you meet different types of players. He is such a genuine person. The way he dresses, how he acts, he's very sincere. And this is the ultimate. To me, it's just the ultimate payback to how, you grew up and what was important in your life. And to give $1 million to the YMCA, that was the basketball court he grew up on. So, he gets it. He understands. So it's paying it forward. It's paying it back. And with Kyle, it always comes from the heart.
Yeah.
No matter what, it always comes from the heart. He's going to tell it like it is. You might not like it, but in this case, it's just a beautiful tribute to the community that he grew up with in Flint, Michigan.
Megan, he plays with a childhood friend, best friend in Monte, and so now him able to give $1 million back and hopefully create another pairing or tandem or trio of kids has to be something that makes you smile, right?
Without question, and I think that probably for me, like, the best part is watching his mom's reaction, even though I have a feeling she probably knew this was coming, but to then actually see it actual execution and hear your son want to donate back to where he grew up. And Kyle said himself, like, the YMCA in Flint is where he started having dreams about what he's living out those dreams are right now. So he wants to give back to see if there's a generation of kids that can have the same opportunity to be in a safe place. And that was his home away from home, and be able to make their dreams come true themselves, but start it in this place. And groundbreaking will begin in the spring of 2023 on this new gymnasium, which is what the money is donated for, the gymnasium that needs to be upgraded and fixed. And it's just lovely that someone who grew up in that area and grew up playing in that building, and it being a safe place for them, is now wanting to give back so that the next generation of kids and generations beyond can actually have the same opportunity as him. And it's a testament to what these players are, and it is a reminder to the fans that these athletes are more than just athletes. They are more than just what we see on the floor. They're more than what we see in the highlights at the end of the night after a wild game. They're more than Kyle being a couple assists away from another triple-double. They are humans at the very least, and I love that they're getting the reminder out to the fans that we do something for you guys as well, rather than just on the floor.
Remember, they are people first, as you said. The athlete part, that's the profession, that's the job, but who they are is what's most important. But speaking of his job tonight, 27 points, 13 boards, 7 assists, and I tell you, if there had been 3 more minutes in this game, he might have had a triple-double. How fitting for him to have this type of performance after making that type of donation this morning, Glenn.
Well, it just puts a period at the end of the sentence, that's all.
There you go.
You know, and what I loved about his game tonight, he didn't ball dominate. There were quick moves to the basket, quick into his shot. He didn't over-dribble. He didn't overly isolate, and he just took what the defense gave him. I love how he attacked the rim, especially in the second half. Just did a terrific job of also sharing the basketball. Look, he made his threes, and he did a great job. This is what I like, attack, using his body. We haven't seen him do that as a pro as much as he has this year with the Wizards. Attack, get guys on the shoulder, bang them out of the way, so he has gotten stronger.
And you know what's funny, Megan, when you look at the way Kyle plays the game, to Glenn's point, it's a far more aggressive style of basketball that really showcases his diverse skills at 6'10", who plays like a 2, sometimes can ball handle like a 1, but can play and defend all 5 positions. Looking at what he did tonight, is it not fair to say, League, you're on notice, Kyle Kuzma wants to make his way to Utah in February?
Well, I think the league has been on notice since game 1 of the season when it comes to Kyle Kuzma, because this isn't an anomaly. He's been putting up numbers like this all season long. So the fact that he has another night where he puts up big scoring numbers, but then he also distributes the ball. And keep in mind, over the last 5 games, he's been averaging just under 5 assists a game. And that's prior to the last 5 games before that. He was actually close to 6 assists a game. So him having 7 tonight is nothing abnormal. This is something he does. And he has said time and time again to all of us and to the media, the team does not, and coach does not, run specific plays drawn up for Kyle Kuzma. He just manages to do this within the confines of whatever set is called, whether it's Monte Morris making the call on the floor or it's Coach Wes Unseld making the call in a timeout. That, to me, is probably the most impressive about his growth as a player and maturity as a player, because that is hard to do when you are part of a big 3 and you don't get plays called for you. Typically, you might see that from a big like a KP who plays with his back to the basket, although KP can stretch the floor. But you don't typically see it from your small forward or power forward at 6'10", who has the ability to put the ball on the floor but also stretch it as well. And that takes a lot of self-reflection to accept the fact that you're never going to get a play called for you, but you can still go out and put up nearly 30 a night along with 7 rebounds or 7 assists and double-digit rebounds, a near triple-double. Again, that says a lot about who Kyle is as a growth and maturity standpoint.
You know, it's interesting, Megan, you'll get a kick out of this. When he first came to the Wizards, I got a call from the Wizards, come down and interview Kyle Kuzma. And I was sitting down, and he walks into, it was on the practice court, and he walks into the gym, and I stood up, and he walked over, and people forget, and I forgot. I didn't know he was 6'11". You know, and he comes over, and I'm going, well, you know, he walked up, and I was standing up, and I'm 6'2", and I'm standing up going, I'm like, man, I thought you were like, you know, 6'7".
No.
And he goes, and then he said in a very humble way, I know a lot of people think I'm a lot shorter because of my skill set. And you do forget that he's 6'11", he could handle it, can get in the lane like that. And that's the beauty of a guy like Kyle Kuzma, his versatility in his offensive skills.
Guys, the best shot Kyle took tonight was the one he actually didn't take, with the minutes taken away in the last 2 minutes. He had one wide open in the corner, but understood the moment in the game required that we keep the ball moving, don't take the shot, the clock is our friend. That's the high-level basketball IQ that I want. Megan, we appreciate you as always. Orlando on Saturday, so we look forward to you. Safe travels until then, my friend.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Wizards fans coming up on the other side. Bradley Beal and, oh, you're going to love this one. Should I tell him? Oh, I might as well. Chase Hughes is coming in. We're getting Chase Hughes on the show. We're going to be talking stats. We got KP and Gafford. And I'm going to get an update on a very young Wizards player as well. All that and more on the other side when Wizards Post-Game Live returns on ABC Sports Washington. Welcome back to Post-Game Live. Wizards fans, I know you're going to love this, because guess what the Wizards did? They scored over 115 points, which means you get 50% off regular menu pizzas at papajohns.com. Let me say that right the first time. 50% off regular menu pizzas at papajohns.com. after the Wizards score 115 or more. Now, I get to tell you about who is joining the show. You can use your eyes. To your left, it is Chase Hughes, Wizards beat reporter. Chase, so many things that we can discuss. Let's start at the top. First of all, glad to see you, my friend. I want your thoughts on this game and Bradley Beal's return after a 5-game absence, dealing with that hamstring.
Well, they told us, the Wizards players, that they just needed to get Bradley Beal back, and they got him back, and they won their first game, so it's a good start. And I think it was a reminder that Bradley Beal has been really good this year when he's been healthy, right? He's averaged about 23 points a game, shooting a career-high percentage from the field, averaging about 5 assists per game. He's just had a little bit of trouble staying healthy, but this was a step in the right direction because he came out of it unscathed. Last time he went out there, he re-aggravated that hamstring injury. But when it comes to his injuries this season and really going back to last year, I'm reminded of earlier in his career when he had a little bit of trouble staying healthy, and he worked really hard to get rid of the reputation that he had of being injury prone. And in 2016-17, he played 77 games, and in the next 2 years, he played all 82. So I think he can pull from that experience and achieve durability just like he did just a few years ago.
And while I'm thinking about, not only Brad's presence and his absence, regardless of the matter, there are two guys that are part of the big three that we have currently that have really performed well. And I know I was joking earlier about their performance because it looked good for me. But seriously, when you can depend on KP to give you 20, almost a walking double-double every night, you can depend on Kyle Kuzma to give you 20 per night. What does it say for this team and the ambitions that those guys have when you can get these kind of performances on a nightly basis?
Well, it's pretty obvious they've been the two best players for the Wizards this season. They're most reliable players in terms of games played and points scored. Kuzma's only missed 1 game. Porzingis has only missed a handful of games. Both guys have averaged 20-plus points per game this season. And when it comes to Kyle Kuzma, what stood out to me is that he has continued to produce no matter what role he's been in. They've had him as the #1 scoring option, the second option, the third option, and he continues to score 20-plus points per game. And I think it's especially difficult and easier said than done when he's the third option, like we saw tonight, because he's got to defer to a certain extent to Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis while still looking for his own shot. And Kristaps Porzingis, he's put up great numbers this year, but he could put up a lot better numbers if he just made his threes on the road. Wow. He came into this game shooting 45% from 3 at home and 21% from 3 on the road. But tonight, he had 4 threes. This was on the road, although it was kind of a home game for him. Yeah, he was back in his old building. But that was a great start because, he's been shooting twice as good from 3 at home.
Chase, I'm an old point guard, right? And so I'm always looking at the game as a point guard. Monte Morris played 30 minutes tonight. He had 13.7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 0 turnovers. And I think he's done just a wonderful job managing the game, making sure guys get on the court where they need to be, whether it's the wing or the low post. He's always kind of directing where guys are. I'd like to get your thoughts on the way Monte has played.
Well, Monte Morris, as soon as he showed up, I think we all recognized that he's really good at limiting turnovers. And I remember asking Wes Unseld Jr., who's known him for a long time, dating back to their time in Denver, why he's so good at that. And Wes Unseld Jr. was like, well, to be honest, I wish he'd be a little bit more aggressive. And lately, we've seen him be more aggressive. Yes. And right before this stretch started, he said that the onus was really on him to make teams pay for switching on Kristaps Porzingis in the pick and rolls. He had to become more of an offensive threat to take some pressure off of Porzingis. And I think he's done a great job of that over the last 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, I also think he's not your stereotypical scoring combo point guard. He's just not. He doesn't play that way. So, he's not an Allen Iverson guy that's going to go down and just blow by people. But what he does do is he doesn't take bad shots. Right. And to me, that's a big deal. So you know what you're getting with Monte Morris. He's going to take what the defense gives him, and that's what makes the Wizards, like on a night like tonight, I think that was a little underrated. Making sure that Brad got his touches, making sure Kuz got his touches and Porzingis and his shots.
It's so interesting, though, when you look at Monte Morris, he pretty much takes the adage of their neglect is our ally. When you were paying attention to everybody else, you forget him. Now he said he's going to be more aggressive and knock some shots down, and that's what we're seeing. But I want to switch gears and talk about another thing that I have to be honest, Wizards fans, I don't know what he's about to tell me. You said that you got a stat about Daniel Gafford And I want to hear this, so please, by all means, regale us.
And he's not making it up.
No, it's a stat. This is part of what Chase does, so go ahead.
No, it's a good one. So entering this game, Daniel Gafford was shooting 75% from the field, and I was like, that sounds pretty high. So I looked it up, and indeed, it would be the highest field goal percentage in NBA history.
What?
If he carries it over the full season, and if he makes a few more shots, because right now he does not qualify for official leaderboard simply because he has not made enough shots. You got to make 300 field goals over the course of a full regular season.
Okay.
So he's on pace right now for about 260. But he's in the starting lineup. The volume should go up the more he stays in the rotation. But he's now gunning for Mitchell Robinson's record. We just saw Mitchell Robinson tonight play for the New York Knicks. But Mitchell Robinson beat, of course, Wilt Chamberlain's record 3 years ago, a record that was set 50 years ago. And I think Daniel Gafford has a really good chance of breaking it himself this year. And if he does, it would be a testament for Daniel Gafford because obviously he's very sure-handed. He's automatic around the rim.
Yeah.
But also, going back to like a Monte Morris, his teammates would deserve some love too because Daniel Gafford, more than 2/3 of his field goals this year have been assisted by his teammates. He gets rewarded for running the floor and running to the rim, but his teammates also have to set him
First of all, great stat.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I'm going to tell you something else. I'm going to tell you something else about Daniel Gafford. And all those guys that you saw on your screen, you think, all right, they're dunking everything. To me, Daniel Gafford has dramatically improved this season with his moves around the basket.
Yeah.
I really do think that. I think he's improving. So it's not just dunking. He's doing a nice job of, the little pump fakes.
Yeah, he'll turn and face the rim.
Turn and face the rim and little jump hooks left and right. So he's improving in that area.
Shout out to Marcin Gortat, who's been working with the bigs for the Wizards.
Shout out to Chase Hughes.
Shout out to Chase Hughes for bringing that up. See, I knew he was going to be something good. But Chase also has another article on NBCSportsWashington.com about Chris Dunn. Please, this one I read. Matter of fact, I will be quiet. The floor is yours.
Appreciate it. So Chris Dunn, I'm sure a lot of Wizards fans remember from him being the 5th overall pick. He was really good at Providence, was selected by the Timberwolves, traded to the Bulls in the Jimmy Butler trade, and his NBA career has since kind of fizzled out. So he's in the G League now with the Capital City Go-Go, trying to rebuild his game. He's trying to get healthy, get his mental health in order, and also rebuild his jumper. And he's healthy now. He's playing really well. And he said he's in a great place mentally. And what he told me is he's trying to get back to the NBA the correct way so that he can achieve some longevity once he does get back. But rebuilding his jump shot, it was an interesting process because he said he was always just so much more athletic than everyone that he didn't really need to think about his outside shot. No one really taught him like the inner workings of a jump shot.
Yeah.
So he slowed down his jumper, he broke it down piece by piece, and he asked a lot of his former teammates for tips. He was on the Hawks with Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, Bogdan Bogdanovic, guys like that. And so now he's shooting 40% from 3 in the G League. And it's funny, if you ask a professional athlete, are you healthy when they've had a bunch of injuries, they'll always tell you, yes, I'm 100%. But the numbers back it up for him. He's had recent games of 7 steals and 6 steals with the Go-Go. And you got to be pretty healthy. You got to be moving pretty well to accomplish that.
Shout out to Mike and Amber and those guys on the Go-Go side for being able to create fertile environment for him to deconstruct his game and build it back up the right way. These is great stuff. Chase Hughes, as always, we appreciate you. All of Chase's articles, NBCSportsWashington.com. Check them out, read them, share them. The man does good work, and they're always so interesting. I love that. On the other side, though, how about something else that piques my interest? Getting in the film room with Glenn Consor. Are you cool with that, Glenn? I'm good. All right, let's do it. PostGame Live, back in a moment.
NBC Sports Washington, your home of the Wizards.
Welcome back. Hey, Glenn, I said we're getting in the film room. We ready? Take the people inside your mind and show them what you know.
Do you want me to break this down?
Break it all the way down.
I'm going to break it down. Wizards spacing tonight created a lot of opportunities for their three-point shooting. DeLon Wright comes off the screen. The defense goes under the screen, under KP. What does he do? Make him pay for it. That's beautiful basketball. And the other thing is DeLon Wright really did a good job of making sure his teammates got involved. So a little penetration. Watch this shot by Kuz. Now, if I'm the coach, I'm not loving this shot, but the fact that it went in,
you're like, no, no, no.
I'm loving him. It doesn't matter. But what I liked about this game for the Wizards was the pace of the game. Again, this is Knick defense. All 5 guys in the paint. What happens? You kick it back out, then he steps into his shot. This is an area that he needs to improve. He stepped in, he used his legs beautifully, but the defense came all into the paint. Now, Monte Morris, I think on this play, passes up a shot, little floater right there, but look what he does. Again, 5 guys in the paint, kicks it out, 1 pass, 2 pass, A to B, B to C. Bradley's in the corner. Spacing creates open looks, and he just nails it with that aesthetically beautiful jump shot.
It's a work of art. It's a work of art, but one of the things I noticed in that last segment you were showing right there,
yes,
the selflessness.
Yes.
Even when Tay attacks the paint, he's like, no, there's somebody. The next person goes, no, you.
Sign of a great team is passing up a good shot for a great shot. And the Wizards really did that tonight, and that's kudos to them.
Well, speaking of shots, I asked people earlier tonight what was the key to victory at NBCSportsWashington.com/vote. A resounding 3-pointers wins with 89% of the vote. Wow, thank you.
They made their threes, but rebounding was
tremendous. I like that. Now let's take a look at our FanDuel best bets of the night. Well, of course, at FanDuel, we make every moment more. If you were to come in with an alternate spread and said the Wizards are going to win by 10.5, that's at plus 200. A $10 bet would have won you $20. As we said earlier in the night, this is the 3rd wire-to-wire victory of the season for your Washington Wizards. Glenn, I'm looking at the box, and I see a 35-point first quarter, a 32-point third quarter. Is it fair to say that when the Wizards start both halves strong, pretty much coasting towards the direction they want to be in?
Yeah, you know, I think the story, I think you make a good point, but to me, the storyline is, you know, the fact that they got Brad back. It changed everything for this team. You know, they couldn't focus on Kuz. They couldn't focus on KP. And they couldn't focus on Brad. And Brad, you know, to some degree, was a decoy tonight. You know, he didn't force things. He let the defense breathe a little bit. And he took what the defense gave him. But to me, you know, and it wasn't just those 3 guys.
No.
The whole team really shared the ball. The spacing was great. And I mentioned this when we were talking to Chris and Drew. The pace. They dictated the pace of this game to the Knicks. When they played last week in D.C., the Knicks dictated the pace. They dominated the boards. They won the fast break points. Tonight, the Wizards win in the fast break point category, and they did a great job also with their rebounding. Second chance points was a great night for the Wizards as well. And they gang rebound, Wes. That was the key. To me,
attack.
All 5 guys. Monte Morris, 7 rebounds.
Yeah.
Everybody was rebounding, and that's how you beat a team like the Knicks, especially without Mr. Robinson, who normally blocks every shot that comes or changes shots that go anywhere near the paint.
You know who else gave you 7 rebounds tonight?
Who?
Boy, Denny.
Yeah.
Yeah, off the bench. See, Denny gives you 14 and 7. DeLon Wright gives you 11 and 5.
Hey, this was the best game Denny's played in a while. I like the fact that he shot the ball, but we got FanDuel stuff.
That's what it's all about. Right now, we're going to remind new customers they get $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. So download the FanDuel app now and start making every moment more. On the other side, we're getting you ready for Orlando. Back in the district on Saturday. Breakdown coming up. Welcome back to Wizards post-game live after a big win, and I spy a dub. Oh, I'm glad Brad's back. 5 games absent with that hamstring. Glad he was able to bring us back into the win column with an 18-point performance tonight. Now, I got to remind everybody, Saturday, this is a big thing, and I'm looking forward to it because the Wizards and NBC Sports Washington teaming up for a day dedicated to celebrating all levels of basketball in the DMV area. This Saturday, January 21st, 1:30 p.m. I will be doing sideline for the DeMatha game. All this leads up to the Wizards taking on the Magic at 7 o'clock. Glenn Consort pregame live starts at 6:30. I want to know how the Wizards continue this winning thing at home against Orlando.
Well, they got to keep the defense up, obviously. You know, the defense wins in a game like Orlando because you're going up against guys by the name of Paolo, Franz, and Markel. Right? And they're not artists. They're really good basketball players. They like to go up and down. So the Wizards need to be ready for transition defense. But again, take a little bit away from this game, which was the spacing on offense, the aggressiveness on the boards.
It's all about sharing is caring. And again, reminding you that we're going to be sharing a Saturday with you. All day basketball. 10 a.m. coverage
What
starts.
is better than a basketball day?
Can't ask for anything more. On behalf of our great crew and staff here at NBC Sports Washington, Glenn Consor, I'm Wes Hall. We'll see you Saturday on NBC Sports Washington.